Hey everyone, it's Raquel back at it again with another video. Trying to, update my brand a little bit in terms of my YouTube and really start to focus on more medical school content. My journey with social media and stuff has been a little all over the place over the last 3 or 4 years just because, I was doing the college content and then when I started to, get really busy in college those last 2 years, I really didn't have a lot of time to do as much content as I wanted to do. So now hopefully I can get a little bit more consistent for you guys and also take you guys on my journey to medical school and how I will do. So I'm going to jump right into the video. This video is about kind of 5 tips that I have for getting into medical school. I'm in no way an expert. I'm not in medical school yet, but I have 2 acceptances, which I'm super excited and grateful and blessed and super hyped about. So I don't know exactly where I'm going yet. I was accepted to Tulane and Rutgers so far, but I've had interviews with Jefferson, University of Maryland, SUNY Upstate, Morehouse, and Temple. So I'm still kind of waiting on those schools to kind of let me know. Oh, well, actually, I got waitlisted for University of Maryland. I got waitlisted for Jefferson. So 2 waitlists, 2 acceptances, and 7 overall interviews. So I'm doing pretty well, and I'm super proud of myself for even getting this far. So let's jump right into the tips. My first tip for getting into medical school is knowing your why and knowing your purpose. I can't tell you guys how many times in an interview or in secondaries you're asked, what's your motivation behind being a doctor? How did you get here? I think a lot of things that some people have, especially earlier on, or maybe they just give this as a generic answer, but they're just like, oh, well, I want to help people, or oh, I like science or something like that. And while those are always, of course, if you're applying to medical school, those things are true. But I think you need to really hone in on what that story is and what narrative you're trying to tell. So for me, I'm really passionate about eliminating health disparities, especially in the Black community. And I've done stuff throughout my college career to kind of solidify that as my why to medicine as opposed to, another career. Part of just my whole experience of being on the Black Student Union in undergrad, being a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, doing some volunteer work and service with Southeast DC, or in Newark where I did my research. My research is on health disparities, so I really tried to focus in on that story whenever I'm asked, and I pull from a personal standpoint of what it's like being a Black woman in America and trying to do medicine. There's a lot of people that maybe doubt me or feel like I, may not reach my goal, and so just having that push is going to get me through those hard days. It's not an easy process at all. If you're at any point, if you're just an undergrad doing your pre-med classes, if you're studying for the MCAT, if you're doing your interviews, when you're actually in medical school, all of it does take a lot of grit and hard work that you need to have a reason behind, because if it's just for money or if it's just to quote unquote help people and that's it, you can help people in a lot of different ways in the world. So why medicine? Have a clear why is I think the number one tip that I would give anyone trying to be going into medical school is that you need to be able to, understand why you're doing it and how you're going to get there. My second tip to getting into medical school would be to take a gap year. And this is just my personal tip. I know some people who go straight through from college to medical school and are doing perfectly fine. But what I've seen in my interview process, just with a lot of my peers and stuff, I'm working as a medical assistant now. The gap year just seems like almost an essential. I went to one interview and almost, I'd say 80% of the people that were interviewing for the school had taken at least one gap year. 2 or 3 was the standard. So if you're a pre-med or an undergrad right now, do not be stressed at all about taking that extra year just because it's almost the standard now. It's almost something that you need, if you're going to have something to talk about. I talk about being a medical assistant all the time in my interviews. So just making sure that I have that life experience and have seen patients like face to face by myself. Even though I'm not a doctor, I've had those patient interactions that I've been able to go on and on about in my interviews. And in my secondaries, I was able to talk about that. So, it also gives you some time to rest. A lot of people, can explain to you how hard medical school is. I've been able to just hang out with my friends, hang out with my family, go travel, rest on the weekends, learn how to cook, learn how to, manage a paycheck, things like that I would not have been able to know if I just went straight into medical school. Obviously, I would have figured it out, but I think that if I could go back in time, I wouldn't change anything. I took my MCAT my senior year of college, which I think was better because I wasn't taking super hard classes my last semester. So I was able to study for the MCAT, and I took the MCAT in the end of April. So I was ready to apply. So yeah, take a gap year if you can. But again, everyone has their own timeline. Everyone has their own goals in life. But I definitely say if you are, unless you have a 520 on the MCAT and, 4.0 and you've already worked in patient care in undergrad, which is great and amazing. Kudos to you if you do that. But don't feel bad at all for taking that. So my third tip for getting into medical school is knowing how to write about yourself and also knowing how to speak well about yourself and speak well in general with people. I think I got really good at this, again, working as a medical assistant, having to talk to people on a day-to-day and think on my feet. But in interviews, you're being tossed these questions and you really don't want to give generic answers. So if someone's asking you again, like, why medicine, you don't want to just give this whole spiel about how you care about people and then not give any examples, right? So obviously all this comes with having stuff and examples to talk about. So if they're asking me how I'm working in a team, I'm talking about cheerleading, I'm talking about being in a sorority, I'm talking about working as a team and a medical assistant. Like, I can, on a drop of a dime, be able to talk about myself in a positive light without sounding cocky, but being able to articulate why I want to do medicine and the things that I've done to lead me up to this point. So that's really important. Don't be afraid to brag. In your secondaries, it's basically after you do, your first application, you're writing like why you want to go to the schools, and sometimes you're asked like supplemental questions, and you have to be creative. They're reading thousands of applications, and you really don't want to be saying the same things as everyone else. I made use of Grammarly and even ChatGPT to edit, not to write, but to edit my work and to make sure that it sounded polished, that it sounded professional.